If you can't prioritize you, and if you're not making you important, that for me it would sound like it would be tougher to trust your vision, because if you treated everything else as more important than you, then it's tougher to trust your vision. When it comes to trust your vision, is that true? And let's dig a little bit deeper into trusting your vision.
Yeah, I mean, I totally believe that. If you don't have a relationship with you, how are you supposed to trust you? I mean, do you trust people that you don't have a relationship with on the street? In Los Angeles? No.
I was going to say Los Angeles? No.
No. So having that relationship with you is absolutely the first step, because once you have that relationship with you and you've created that space, your parts and pieces of your vision are going to start to drop in. Especially if you're, another thing I do a lot is meditation. And creating that space and having that silence allows so much information to come. But if it's coming and you don't trust yourself because you don't know you and you don't know if it's a good thing for you or not, how are you going to move forward? I mean, they're absolutely, I mean, it's really integral to have kind of like all the steps lined up and to do them in a really specific order too, I believe.
Yeah, and that's great. And when you're talking about trusting your vision, like you said, if you don't believe you and don't trust you, it's tough to trust your vision. When you say trust your vision, which vision are you talking about? Like the vision that you create yourself for the future? Are you talking about a vision board, so to speak? Are we going deeper than just basically the 3 words, trust your vision? Or give us a little more about trusting your vision.
I think it's a combination of a few different things. So I think it's both subconscious and conscious creation. So for me, I've gone through meditations of visioning processes through meditation. And in fact, I'm actually doing the 2nd volume of my book right now. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I got led through a vision. And in the vision, I looked up at my bookcase, and there were 5 copies of the book, 5 volumes of the book on the bookcase. And I was like, oh, so apparently I'm supposed to be doing another volume of the book. So sorry, there's someone doing all sorts of crazy things outside. So I think it's a combination of both. I'm all about vision boarding. I do a huge vision board at the beginning of every year. And then every 3 months, I'll go back through and kind of reassess what's on there. And I'll cover some stuff up, I'll take some stuff off, I'll add some stuff to it, so I'm kind of constantly visioning. The other thing that I just did this week is that I actually recorded, and this kind of came from that meditated vision, but it also kind of came from a conscious creation of what I want in my life. And I took my cell phone and I recorded a 6-minute just vision, me speaking my vision, and and I listen to it every single morning when I'm in bed right now. It's the first thing I turn on, and it leads me through an entire day and my ideal day and how I'm feeling and what I'm doing and who I'm interacting with and all of these things. So I believe it's a combination both of subconscious and conscious creation.
Excellent. So real quick, this is kind of an extension, but a little bit off the topic. You said you listen to that recording every day. Do you listen to it after you wake up or before or as you're waking up? Like, in other words, do you wake up and then turn it on and listen to it, or do you have it set to an alarm where it starts before you wake up?
Oh, I should see if I can do that. I don't even know if I can do that. That's a really good idea.
Thank you.
I turn it on.
Yeah,
I turn it on.
And the reason I ask is, as you know from already talking about the subconscious, our subconscious is more open. There's no gate on it. Whatever comes in, it allows it to go in. It allows it to process and everything. And I found great success with both myself and clients by saying, look, you have to let your subconscious work. So if it's falling asleep to TV or radio, or if it's waking up to something, if you can put something on like that you want to listen to and learn without it waking you up and just being at the end of your sleep cycle, it'll actually get deeper inside you, and it'll get deeper in your subconscious than if you're listening to it when you're completely awake and aware. Because even great meditators, when they're completely awake and aware, it becomes difficult to let it go all the way down in. So,
yeah,
but yeah,
I'm gonna have to look into that.
You have to report back. We'll have to do another episode on the results of that.
Yeah, right. I do it in the mornings because I am still kind of in that like half awake space, and I usually, you know, the cats are usually in bed with me and they're like purring, and so I'm usually in this just like really open kind of like grounded state, and so I do it in the mornings because my head is not yet full of stuff.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of maybe playing it like as I'm waking up. That would be, I'm gonna look at my settings on my phone.
There you
See if I
go.
can do that.
Awesome. Or just as a side note, the other thing that might help, I know some phones, the alarms have different settings to where you can actually set a wave file or a sound file to
Yeah.
be the chime. So even if it's not the video, maybe you can just take it and have, you know, if you're technical and can do it, great. If not, somebody technical, just grab the sound out of it and turn it into, you know, a ringtone or a file that your phone can play, and then have that play and then set another alarm for you to wake up afterwards. So just a thought, as we take a complete digression off of off of trusting your vision, but it all does get back to vision. And let's face it, to kind of start to bring us a little bit together on trusting your vision, that is really the key. I mean, if you all think about what we just talked about, if you don't trust your vision, you're not even going to think to try and record your vision and listen to it when you're in a subconscious state, you know, or an unconscious state, so to speak. So you have to trust your vision. If you could give somebody one real quick suggestion on how to start trusting their vision, where would somebody start to start trusting their vision?
I would say that when you start prioritizing you and you've created that space, use those 15 minutes to start like diving into some questions. The other thing that I recommend for all my clients is to have a journal on you at all times, so that when your vision comes to you and you get those little pops of inspiration, you have somewhere to put it immediately. So how many of us have had those $1 million ideas and are like, I'll never forget that, and then 2 hours later you're like, oh, what was that again? So I really recommend that. And even if it sounds ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, write it down. You never know what will come from that idea spiraling into other ideas. So when a vision or when an inspiration comes to you, I really recommend for people just to document everything and journal on it some more. I mean, you know, get an idea and sit down for 5 minutes and just write on that idea. What could it look like? Without stopping yourself about like, oh, well, I can't do it because, or what if this happened, or what if that happened. The what ifs are a total killer. You know, assuming they're what ifs like based out of fear. If they're what ifs based out of like, ooh, what if I could like change the world, or what if I could become the president, or things like that, like those are good what ifs. But the bad what ifs, where if you're journaling and you're like, oh, but what, you know, how am I going to pay my bills, or da 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 da. Those things don't even come into play when you're starting to create a vision.
Right, and I think that's so key. The other key point that you just brought up about trusting your vision is just trusting that whatever you're seeing is meant to be right in some way, shape, or form, and meant to lead you to the next thing, which really leads us into being able to learn to receive.
To watch the rest of this epic episode now, click on the link below the video. Do it now, you'll be glad you did. Are you still here? What are you waiting for? Watch the rest of this epic episode now by clicking on the link below the video.